You stand in the middle of your cells, you finish 13 years in that place, 2 by 2, then it hits you. Was it worth it? Helen is smart. That's all I can say. I think she's...
Why do you say that?
She has seen our weakness.
Do you feel that we currently have the leadership that we need to negotiate these choppy waters?
We work with what we have.
What did you think of the Phala Phala situation?
Phala Phala.
Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX. And I must say today I'm extremely excited and honored because I'm joined by a freedom fighter, someone who has served our country with distinction in various offices of government, an investor, a wealth creator, and one of the most important figures in South African history over the last few decades. Uncle Tokyo Sexwale, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I know you're going to ask me a lot of questions. I've got two.
Huh.
You seem to have powerful friends who urged me to come here.
Is that so? Wow.
You know 3. You must be well connected. So I'm going to ask you to tell me why you invited me here. Secondly, SMWX was objective. Then I'll answer all your questions.
Wow, I didn't realize I was going to be interviewed, but happy to.
Only two.
By all means.
Yes.
So the reason I invited you here, I would say there are 2 main reasons. The first is that I see this channel as an archive that people can always return back to. And I think you're an important figure in our history. And I want people to be able to hear from you now, but I want this episode to serve for a long time as a historical document in a way. And number 2, I'm genuinely interested in your views on what's happening in South Africa.
Okay.
You in some ways are breaking your silence today. You haven't spoken for a long time. And so much is happening in our country and the world. And I'm genuinely interested to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Yeah. And number 3, I know this is going to do a lot of views. So
will you pay me?
I think you might have enough in your bank account right now. But
let's talk about where you may want to take this channel, because my view is that as an archival thing, experience, you want to be global as well.
Absolutely.
Let's come and have a coffee over that.
Absolutely.
How we can facilitate.
I think this
with others.
The time is right for a platform like this to go beyond our borders. So I'd appreciate that.
First time I met you, you were holding on to a dog.
I remember.
If the dog moves away, you fall. But Terry, your mother was fantastic.
Yeah.
Your father, fantastic. I'll give you some pictures of what you look like, but you pay me.
We have an amazing picture which we'll put up on the screen of you, me, my mother, and Walter Sisulu walking in a park together. So, and I remember before everyone knew who you were, we knew you, and we'd come to your house. You had your Beetle.
Not far from here, yes.
Exactly, and it's been a joy to, in my lifetime, watch your growth and success as well.
I've seen your shows. Sorry about those questions.
No, I didn't.
Go ahead.
This is the beauty of an unscripted show.
Okay.
Uncle Tokyo, there's so much, I want to pick your brain on. But I know that you visited Cape Town recently on holiday, and you served 13 years on Robben Island, and you were able to go back. Tell me about that experience and what that trip was like for you.
Well, you must be close to Gabriela, my daughter, who was your friend, because
indeed,
we were with her in Cape Town.
Yeah.
We went to Robben Island shortly before the break of the new year.
Yeah.
And it's a nice trip. It's always, so rewarding to do that experience as a free person. By the way, I was there. This is a week before the ANC leadership visited also Robben Island. A good thing, because some of them had never been to Robben Island.
Sure.
It was an experience, but I had been to Robben Island for quite some time, except that Natasha, my wife, had not been. And it was a team of 18. That's enough about that. It's testing. It was testing this time because whenever I go to Robben Island, it's my alma mater. I know you and I'm on the Vets Foundation. You are a lecturer at Vets. So that's our school in a way. But that's another school, the University of Robben Island. And whenever I visit it, it's that emotional thing comes back. But it's happiness. Unlike when we visit the death cells in Pretoria here, where I was kept, and before we left Solomon Mahlangu. So the death cells here, I don't know if you have been, go there, see where we're kept.
Yeah.
Many people see Robben Island. Robben Island was a place of freedom. But this time round, I went to my cell.
Wow.
It's in the same passage where I lived more years there, where Madiba was. It's a few meters, 2 meters from Madiba's cell.
Wow.
So whenever tourists go there, where's Mandela's cell? But I had to show my family first that where's Mandela's cell is that one, but let's go there first. It's emotional. You stand in the middle of your cells, you finish 13 years in that place, 2 by 2, then it hits you. Was it worth it for me to get stuck here? But was it worth it for the other man, 27 years, in view of what we're seeing happening to our collective and our common project, which is called the African National Congress, leader of my people, and the government, the republic. Remember, for me, the republic comes first, parties come and go. Was it worth it? I wanted to say it was not worth it, but that would have been wrong. It was worth it to be there because so much has changed. So much is transformed. In some areas it's revolutionary, in others it's just reformist, in others nothing. So much has happened. Our people are free. They're free. But free to do what? And sadly it was after the ANC dropped to 40%. We're not a 40% party. We're not a 40% inmates group of, that was not Mandela. We're more than that. That's why that question came, that we're going down out there. And the question, therefore, that arises, Sizwe is, the president of the ANC, Comrade Cyril, is in the departure lounge. This is his last term. So the bags are in the departure lounge. The deputy president has just landed and is in the arrivals. Are we going to go above 40% with the next president because this one is done? It will be a farewell. Or will you go below 40? That's the test, and that's why the emotions of what am I doing here? What are we doing here? Was it worth it? And it was worth it. We've got to put our shoulders to the wheel for this thing. But it's not an easy thing.
Can I take you back down memory lane for a while? Because, like I said, with the important historical archive of this channel, many people in my generation and the generations below are starting to lose touch with those stories. And you tell you tell an amazing story of when on Robben Island you were taken to visit Madiba when he was moved away from the island for a while. What are your recollections of that moment?
Wonderful. It was on a bright Saturday afternoon, morning. Sun was blue. I won't say much because it's going to come in what I'm writing.
Yes, which we're all looking forward to. So I can't give you all my collections here. As a process of beginning to resolve the problems of the country, the Boers, or the Nationalist Party government,
had begun to feel the pressure and the heat. The country was ungovernable. Apartheid was unworkable. The people had reached a position of, you can't lord over us anymore. The sanctions were biting. Whatever we heard of Mkhonto Sizwe arms struggle, which was not a real war to overthrow, but it was telling. And this fact, and the economy was on its knees. And they were losing friends diplomatically, and the other points. The pressure was mounting. And the government of apartheid at the time, P.W. Botha, had decided, let's try to find a way of avoiding talking or engaging with the ANC. Let's go to these prisoners. So the target was the man in whose name is released Nelson Mandela and others.
Yeah.
So the target was to go for him. He was offered a number of proposals. Agree to close down the armed struggle, will free you. He said no. Agree to say that you can be released but go to your village, the Transkei. In any case, your cousins are in charge of it, Matanzimas and them. Madiba said no. Agree to be released but stay in Cape Town. If you release me, I'll walk to Soweto. Take me home if you want to get me out of here. But it doesn't help to release me. Even to Soweto to do what? When the organization of my people, the parliament of our people, is still banned and political activity is restricted and people are in exile and others are in jail. What's your plan? Now, because Madiba, how was this happening? Kobi Kotsie, who was the minister of the prisons at the time, amongst other portfolios he was holding, is the one who was interacting with Madiba. All this is in his book, The Long Walk. He was interacting. So they were trying to sort of soften Madiba. They were playing with fire. So he's a listener. It was important for him to collect, because they never spoke to us about these matters. We were only talking about extra pairs of socks, shoelaces, more food, another slice of bread. And I'll come back to, perhaps if we have time, about how Madiba then said, let's engage these people. So they kept on doing these things. Because he keeps on saying no. There was a time when they wanted his brother, his cousin, Matanzima, who was at the time regarded as a sellout. They wanted him to visit Madiba on Robben Island. And it's his cousin. Madiba consulted all of us for a view. And we said no. They'll take advantage of this. And he felt the same way.
Wow.
Now, that made them think that if he's amongst them and we make any proposals, he consults. Because Madiba is a consensus person. All that leadership, Sizwe, Gauteng Mbeki, Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Motsoaledi, Ahmed Kathrada, they are consensus people. We miss these people today. That quality is not there anymore. So they know he's a consensus person, highly consultative, but a decision maker as well. He's got a spine. He's a decision maker. To disempower him, take him away.
Sure.
So they took Madiba away to Pollsmoor prison across the ocean, and now started making other offers to him that side. He kept on saying, no, I can't decide. Where am I? Either take me back to Robben Island or bring the other leaders.
Yeah.
Eventually they caved in and the rest of the Rivonia team was taken there. And they kept on meeting him, and he was saying, why do you want to talk with me alone? Let's call them. They said that would be a meeting, it's not allowed.
Wow.
But eventually they took him away from Pollsmoor prison, inside the compound, the premises of Pollsmoor, and put him in that place at Victor Verster.
Victor Verster,
It's a jail. It was from Pollsmoor to another jail, Victor Verster, and on the grounds of Victor Verster, they had a beautiful house, and they put him there. It didn't work out. Madiba kept on. But he's collecting intelligence. Because you must hear what the other side is saying. But that reached a moment when it was not feasible. the Nationalist Party was breaking apart. And there were moves, because there were moves now against P.W. Botha himself. And people were feeling that, you are a stumbling block. Let's unban this thing, man. Let's release this man. And let's start something. P.W. Botha over my body, dead body. They removed him. But before they removed him, he had a meeting direct with Madiba, because Madiba said to Kofi Kotsie, you keep on coming here. Where's your leader? Let me talk with your leader. And that's how they met, the famous photograph of the two. They dressed him up in a suit. Your question is the feeling on that day. We're taken there because Madiba had insisted that the time has come for him to brief his own constituency. His constituency is in prison. He had called Walter and them from Posmo to come and see him. He had invited Tutu, and he decided to invite those of us on Robben Island. It's Winnie Mandela who came to visit me and told me that you guys prepare, you're going to be called.
Wow. And
on that bright Saturday morning, we were taken to that place. Freedom. For us, that's when it started. We realized this is freedom. I won't say much about what happens here. I'll tell you a few other anecdotes.
Sure.
The fact of the matter is that we ended up there.
Yeah.
And were briefed by Madiba.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there were suspicions.
Absolutely.
Even against Madiba and about him.
I'm sure you were also a bit...
Yes. Me too. Some people will come here and say, no, we always had confidence. Oliver Tambo himself. And this is written by Nelson Mandela in his book. When the news came that Madiba is talking with these people, he asked him, Nelson, what are you talking with the boss? So I've had comrades who sort of, are disciples of Mandela. We knew he was in control. No, it's not like that. I don't know the state of mind.
Yeah.
There's Joe Biden. I don't know the state of mind of a person. So yes, Madiba is a trustworthy leader, but in what state of mind he is he? What pressure? We've been here for a long time, but we knew that he's strong. So when we got there was, we're looking at him just to find out if all his teeth are still in, because the dentists are all over him, and if all his hands, his fingers. So, no, this is still Nelson Mandela. And we're happy. Amongst other people, we have Tera Lekota, Ibrahim, Ashley Forbes from Cape Town, and Naledi Tsiki, and a few others. I'll remember all their names because they're in the book when I publish. The atmosphere of being with Madiba.
Wow.
And the briefing why we are there. Many people thought negotiations. No. These were talks about talks, not negotiations. And that's why Madiba clarified, after that meeting, a mission clarified, and Zenzi, his daughter, went to read that letter in public in the stadium.
Yes,
in Soweto,
what a moment. Yeah.
My father says, prisoners never negotiate. You can't put me in the say, let's negotiate. Only free and equal men can do so. So it was very clear to the world. That killed all the suspicions. Everybody said, no, we're still fine. So Madiba called us and said, here I am. This is what I'm doing. Why? He mentioned all these pressures, and the state is left with nothing except its force of muscle, particularly police and army. So we had defeated them with everything. We even defeated their will to fight. We defeated apartheid, the will to fight, because that's what fights, not soldiers. They still have an army, and they were heavily armed with nuclear weapons. Something that later came to impact on my life because I'm still listed in America because of those type of things. And they are wrong. And he said, seeing that these people were under so much pressure and hearing them, and I engaged them. And I said, talk to Tambo. So when Madiba answered the question from Tambo, what are you talking with the boss? I said, I'm talking to them to go to London to talk to you.
Wow.
Or to go to Lusaka. They had once talked with the Rhodesian freedom fighters via Kaunda, with Ian Smith, who was then the leader of the whites, minority whites in Rhodesia. They went to Kaunda. They can go to Kaunda because the ANC headquarters is also in Lusaka, or go to London, talk with Tambo. When he said that to OR, it was it. So we're happy.
I mean, you say, and you've told us that you spent some time 2 meters away from Madiba's own cell in that historic area of Robben Island. Are there any other memories that you have of those times, maybe that we don't know so much about, that you hold on to?
When we arrived on Robben Island, we were kept away from them, behind a wall. We're in A section, they were in B section. But we're holding discussions, negotiations, pressure. It takes many years to get an extra pair of socks, let alone to be allowed to mix with other prisoners. So there are many sections on Robben Island: Section A, Section B, Section C, until H, which is hospital. And there's an open section. There are open sections where people can sleep in big cells, 30, 40, 50, 100 people. With us, A and B were confined. But we're able to succeed in negotiating with the enemy for them to allow us to start playing sport together. Okay? So that's how the first interaction with Madiba, that's how we started seeing Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
You can be on Robben Island, by the way, for 20 years. You don't see him. He's just behind the wall. There are many comrades who have been to Robben Island, but you don't see the leadership. You don't even see one another. That's how restricted the place was, and how restrictive the application of the law was. Prisoner A, prisoner B, prisoner C, you can't meet with one another. So A and B were allowed to come together. So we started playing sport together until in the end they transferred those of us from A into B section. And that's it. That's how I ended up living in B section. This is a section of the leadership, Sizwe.
Yeah.
This is where you have Governor Mbeki, the father of Thabo, Walter Sisulu. You have a picture with him.
Wow, yeah.
How lucky you are. I don't. This is the place of Governor Mbeki. This is the Rivonia leadership, Lily's Leaf. I had hoped that we were going to have this interview at Lily's Leaf, where it all started, Mkhonto Sizwe, when they gave their lives. When they were all arrested, were supposed to be hanged, they ended up with life sentences. The experiences which are there are enormous. It's thousands of years of experiences about life and about our people. So the memories I have, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They can only be recorded by you because of what we learned. One, how to handle yourself in jail.
Yeah.
How to survive. You want to know, 27 years, how do you do it? I learned how to handle my discount, which is 13 years. 2, how to handle your own problems coming from outside because your family is here. 3, how to handle your organization in whose name you came here. 4, the country. These things are ever constant. So these men had ideas, they had strategies about how to handle these things. And how to be dispassionate about these things.
How do you do that? How did you handle yourself in that situation?
I'll be writing a lot about this.
Yeah. Sure.
I'll be doing that,
Sure.
It's called, there's a chapter called in my book, Coming to Terms With. You have got to come to terms with imprisonment. What is imprisonment? Where did it start? How did people end up in prison one another? There were no jails. People would throw you in a hole and keep you there. Or they tie you to a tree. That's human nature. In the end, they used buildings where you're locked in and so on, like cattle. As long as you're locked in, no movement. And of course, they use islands. Napoleon he died not far from where we were. And they used all types of places. How do you come to terms with that? How did other people, therefore I'm not just talking about us, I'm taking the totality of the history of imprisonment, how we came to terms with that. You got to manage that because the walls are over. You got to manage that. Otherwise you can crack. And people have cracked. 2, how to come to terms with those who jailed you. They're all male, you're all male, they're all white, you're all black. Their enemies, they see you as an enemy. Even worse, you're just a terrorist. You are scum. It's a dance to the death. It's a strange tango. Their job is to turn us to become worse people so that they can use violence on us. Our job is to liberate them from the animal in themselves. I deal with that in the book. We won. Our job was to transform them. They wanted to provoke the animal in us. How do you deal with your fellow prisoners? You thought you knew them. You really thought you knew them. These are people you're in the struggle with from Mkontoisi's exile. You fired rockets. You threw stones, barricades. You read poems against the enemy together. Do you think you really know them? Things change here. People change. We've got to help one another so that whatever changes occur, it's for the better. And remember always thinking the families, the friends, the organization, the people in the country and the world. These are pressures on all of us. So how do you come to terms with those people? But it's another area. Coming to terms with yourself. You thought you knew yourself. You really thought you knew yourself when you got arrested. You will know yourself.
Sure.
So those experiences will come. Ask a few questions about that by the book.
Absolutely. And we look forward to it. We look forward to it.
Yes. So, but what I learned from them is how they were able to handle all these things we learned. We didn't know.
Yeah.
That's why I'll put it like this. You've got to explain how a barrister, a lawyer, father's a lawyer. Okay? How a lawyer was imprisoned on Robben Island. He's a nobody, Nelson Mandela. I'm just using him as a figure.
Sure.
And when he emerges years later, you were supposed to be crushed, you are nothing. But he emerged as the world's #1 statesman. What happened? I'm trying to put the things together with what I saw, with what I heard, with what I experienced in that chapter, dealing with that. But so I'm not talking about my book. I'm just that your questions are.
Yeah.
Come there. Go ahead.
The island is such an important symbol in the narrative of South Africa's democracy.
It is.
And it has recently emerged in the headlines again. Well, there was the yacht trip, but we won't go there if we don't have to.
No, we didn't travel in the yacht.
We
had our own ways.
Yeah, you
and
went.
The less said about that, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But there's also been talk which has emerged. Now, I know this is sensitive because it deals with 2 presidents, but former President Mbeki was quoted in newspapers as casting aspersions over former President Zuma and whether he was collaborating with or a spy for the apartheid regime. What do you make of that, if you're able to comment?
It was disheartening. It's also emotional. You've got to be in our space, in the ANC, in its top leadership, National Executive Committee. You've got to be in its government. You've got to be a bit in the struggle, even to the death. MK and prison and other places. To understand how this, what you're referring to, hit at us. For me, and I'm sure other comrades have got their own views, but I'm going to give you mine. I know both men.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well.
I love both men. I can't erase that. I lived with them in exile, very close. Not just in a very close, small country, Swaziland, Mbabane, especially Manzini, worked with them. They recruited me into Mpofu-Walsh, these 2.
Wow, it was those 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said Mpofu-Walsh. When I joined the ANC, it was through Winnie Mandela, because I lived with her in Mandela's house, not far away from the high school where I was a chief prefect as a student. This is where they shot the kids, Orlando West High School. So ANC, I joined it there. No membership card, life, Winnie, who features quite prominently in what I'm writing, because I lived with him.
Wonderful.
This mother. That aside, but these two leaders,
Yeah.
my brothers, these two important people in my life, I worked with them. Also learned how to protect them because I was younger. You know, they were always 10 years ahead, in their 30s at the time. I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up with them.
But they keep going.
The distance remains 10 years, and I admire them for that experience. They worked with one another in exile, Sizwe. We went through the process of Codesa together,
Yeah.
which was the platform for negotiations in South Africa for a new breakthrough. They were together. We saw violence flaring up in the country. They were together. Blah, 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 blah. They were together in the presidency. One being president, one deputy. But they both became presidents eventually, taking over from these men of substance I referred to. Now, when now, I don't know how we got here. Suddenly, another one says, this one has always been an enemy agent. I freeze. You see, because the enemy doesn't keep you on Robben Island for 10 years as an agent. There's some distorted information that the other comrade you should have handled this thing somewhere. There's something wrong. And Zuma on Robben Island never met Nelson Mandela because the section in which he was kept. You know, if he had to be an agent to go and stay with these men, he was never there. He was in another section. Like I said, many people have been on Robben Island. They never met these men. A few of us, Terrell Court and so on, had the opportunity to do so. Those who said, I will not say this emanates from President Thabo Mbeki, but those who fed him this information have led him down the garden path. It's part of the confusion of what our enemies were doing inside the ANC so that we turn one against other. I'm going to shock you. In Angola, as I speak, there's more than 300 graves of ANC people.
Wow.
Very well kept. Angolan government has been trying to work with us. I've been involved in that project. They're still lying there. Some of the comrades were shot behind the head. So we had to execute one another. And some comrades in the ANC have been executed and killed because they identified as spies, and later we learned he's not. We've done things against one another. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission South Africa had a chapter that dealt with the ANC, how it treated its own people abroad. We did things, and we are sorry.
Wow.
We are sorry about things that we did. The infiltration was so severe, so terrible, that almost everybody is a spy around you. It cannot go this far today. Two people are now in their 80s. This thing is still continuing. It's a race to the bottom. Let me say the following. People have accused, wrongly, Thabo Mbeki for being a spy. What is it? I worked with Thabo. We should have been killed, which was wrong. People have fingered Paulo Jordan as a spy. We even put him in, isolated him somewhere. These rumors were there about all sorts of people who killed Chris Hani. They are bringing all these things. And you know how bad it can be. Another comrade who's a leader of the ANC. I just want to show you. And so people to be careful about these things. The enemy, the snake of the enemy was let loose. It's in the house. Chris Hani is shot. I live nearby. I'm called by Mondli Kungubele, who's shaking. Chris has been shot. I go there. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Somebody said, why did Tokyo arrive early there?
Sure.
So if I had not gone, why did Tokyo not go? because it's 2 streets away. If I go, why did he arrive early? The ANC has got that. There were times when in the ANC there's a battle. Oh, somebody said you better die in that battle because if you survive, you got to face consequences. My own brother, who survived in Lesotho, he fired his AK until he got finished wearing only an underpant. When more than 30 comrades died there, he survived because he opened fire. There's a chapter in the book, Mantuba, Open Fire or Die, about him. But when he escaped from Lesotho, how did you get out of it? Interrogated. It's it. There's a comrade called Miki Khaya,
Yes.
who became the political advisor to the Premier of Gauteng, who fetched him all the way from Cape Town. Fantastic mind. You know, he survived when others didn't survive. He must be a spy. He was on Robben Island, they called him a spy. Now, I'll leave this thing because I worked with Governor Mbeki, Thabo's father, on Robben Island to debrief new comrades, especially who came from Kondwesi's,
Right.
about information that is not yet lost. You are here, you know, you're arrested, but other comrades are not arrested. Money is kept, some guns. So we debrief and we write the report. My job was to show Governor the report, and then, of course, it's coded because I was trained in the language of cryptography, and then it must go. Lots of things we found in these reports. And how comrades were arrested together. On Robben Island, tensions against one another.
Sure.
There were tensions within the Rivonia leadership. As to who caused our arrest. That has not gone away. So I'm saying,
Wow.
in the years, sunset years, as you are sailing, you are now in your 80s. When I saw this thing, I said, this Mamba is still alive at all. Because how does it happen that, you know, people have made mistakes, very serious ones, on all sides. But this one was, we're racing to the bottom now. I can merely say that whoever, because Thabo Mbeki doesn't go in the streets collecting, it's always, be careful of this. Because everybody, if I can say to this one, I'll destroy that one.
What did you think when former President Zuma broke away from the ANC effectively and formed the Sizwe party, as someone who knew both men so well? And I even think of your history in Polokwane, where you play an important role in, as a candidate stepping away. You've known him for a long time, as you say. How did that, and also to use the name Sizwe, how did that strike you, and what were your reactions to it?
How did it strike you? You are sweet Sizwe. So how did it strike us? Politics is a journey. It's not a one-way railroad somewhere people part. It's painful. It may be anger, differences in how to manage strategy, personality differences, political differences which are not handled, suspicions. I've never agreed that Malema should leave the ANC. A few of us stood in the ANC leadership and said, don't do it.
Sure.
And we even attended his ANC trial. Your father was his defense.
Yeah.
But in the ANC, the constitution, if you are charged, the Integrity Commission, if you are charged, you don't bring people, witnesses. It must be everybody. The presiding officers, the witnesses, it must be members of the ANC. That's how it is. So those of us who were witnesses, Floyd, Malema, Winnie was there, Mbalula was there, Paul Mashatile, Matthew Posa.
Wow.
And we were saying, let's not go this far, comrade.
Sure.
Let's find a way of dealing with these young people. We're dealing with the president of the ANC Youth League.
Yeah.
But we're not saying the law applies differently. And of course, there was some indiscipline on their part.
Sure.
You know, at the end of the day, justice must prevail, you know, because we are a just organization. Should it be finally an expulsion? Let me not get involved with that because, you know, history has got done. The fact of the matter is that eventually, they were expelled.
Yeah.
Look what's happening right now, you know. to them and so on. It's a sad thing. This is our people, our own organization. When Terra Lekota after Polokwane left, the same thing. So it tears us apart. But if you are just, we're just talking, I'm in it for it's a t-shirt. I'm not in the struggle for the t-shirt. Sizwe, I had to take lives myself. Mine was also going to be taken. You don't live in the death cells and come back. It's not a t-shirt. It's not a membership card. It's not 12 rand. So when things are going wrong and they're breaking apart, one of the things I've adopted from Chris Hani is the fear of fighting internal battles. I have no time or strength to fight at home. But release me like Chris outside. You fight to the finish. The enemy must know. They must smell your armpits. Hey, but at home, man, it's so difficult to fight inside the ends. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
When the fire is at home, it's so difficult. Now, then, MK is formed, your question. I was just giving the context.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's formed. Not happy. You can never take away Terra's history. He was the chairman of the African National Congress, highest. You cannot erase. It's dangerous. It's not done. What he did, you can't erase. I can't erase the history of Zuma. Malema. It's happening to us all the time. There's an illness. We're sick here. The snake is in. So when MK is formed, I did express myself. I don't agree. But I can't degenerate, go so well. It's a race to the bottom and throw all sorts of insults and now question his history, Zuma. Because not only Zuma, fine. Zuma is not an issue. It's 14% of the people also believed in him. What are you fighting here now? Let's deal with this question. JZ, he likes discussions. Let's talk about this thing. I don't Zumarize it. Because behind this man, KZN, he took us out of power.
Absolutely.
Nationally, out. We're out.
Yeah.
He's 14% and us were still in. We can pass a budget on our own. We can't today. He took us out of power, and that's not a laughing matter for us.
Sure.
So we take things seriously. In struggle, you can't be personal. If you're personal, we've done so many things. It's always the strategy, the general good. And you must understand strategy. What is strategy? As a leader of the country or organization, what is strategy? What is it that at the end of the day, because strategy ends up with existentialism, where you have a red line, do or die. So you can't have red lines everywhere. So I'm not happy that Zuma left. I wish we can all find a way of rebuilding this thing. Look at what the last elections did. The DA, our party in South Africa, because they're South Africans as well. Can't chase them out. They are 20% or something like that.
Yeah.
The black vote, if I have to use that word,
Sure.
still remains as solid as it is. If you add all these parties, all these pieces, it is merely fragmented. Nobody has gone to that one.
It's about
People have not
2/3.
gone to the white parties. And I wish one day we will not have a situation we still have white parties, but we may come back to that conversation about the breakup of the nation, because it's at the end of the day, look me in the eyes, Sizwe, it's about us, Sizwe. When Terry, your mom, and your dad named you Sizwe, it's Sizwe. Every country is fighting on its own nation, Sizwe. Putin will go to war for his Sizwe. Okay? Trump will go to war for his Sizwe. Zelensky will want to go for his Sizwe. Xi Jinping, his Sizwe. In Congo, it's Sizwe. There's no nation, no part of the world where this name does. It's all about your own nation. But there are so many things in the strategy of running your country. At the end of the day, don't treat everything as a red line, existentialism, but it will go to existentialism, where you say, this far and no further. Now, the black vote is fragmented.
Yeah.
It's fragmented. Don't give up. Leadership doesn't give up. Let's find a way. But I'm not here to say, let's join the black. I heard that the black vote must join. No, South Africans. I never joined the ANC for a black vote. I'm not leaving the DA, because if you leave our white compatriots, maybe it's because your family and mine have got more blondes than many others. If you leave them out, they'll go to the White House. And right now we have the most dangerous thing that has happened. That some of our citizens have got internally dual loyalties. Maybe one loyalty. Because the door has been opened by another friend of mine in Washington for certain South Africans who went to misinform about what is happening here. Now you've got white South. Let me just shock you with something.
Sure.
It was just said by one member of the family. People are angry with solidarity and the Afriforum.
Yeah.
Very angry. All of us. Many white South Africans are angry. But behind the scenes, they're angry because you went to make fools of yourself. But there's a benefit here. If things go wrong, we have a home. Somebody said Tokyo, that's where we are. If things go wrong, we do have a home. The door has been opened for our nation to fragment.
Fam, before we get back to the episode, we just want to let you know we have a big goal on this channel to build this community to 1,000 members. That means we have 2 new levels of SMWX membership. The first level gives you exclusive access to content, discounts on merch, but the second level, in addition to various other perks, gives you access to me. We're going to have meetups, online sessions. You're going to get discount on our live events. So if you want to deepen your SMWX community experience, help us get to that 1,000 member level. Look forward to seeing you there. So you are genuinely worried about the implications of Afriforum and Solidarity's attempts to...
Yes. It was just, we can come back to this point, but I was just saying that it's not just the quest to put up the black vote, which is fragmented, and which will go to about more than 60%.
Yeah.
When it comes together, because I was saying that people didn't migrate towards being, and the white group also didn't come the same. You hardly find all the races of the ANC in many branches. They don't have all the races. Sadly, even in the army, not all of us are in the army. When the coffins come back, it's not, you can bring them together in the soccer field and rugby, but when the dying happens, and other people said that to me, certain groups are dying, others don't join the army, that type of thing. You have worries in the nation, but the point is not just to put the broken part, Humpty Dumpty, the black one, and then you continue the white child, Humpty Dumpty that side, because we've reached a very critical point with the door opened by others.
At the White House.
Yeah. The white side has opened the door to the White House. Therefore, we've got fragmented and split loyalties. Some
people think that this isn't actually a serious crisis, though, that it's just, Afriforum spreading nonsensical information that people don't really believe, or that Trump would not follow through on some of the threats he's made. You think that this executive order is actually quite serious?
He signed it. I want to test the thinking of anybody who says it's a joke. He said, I'll do it, and he's doing it. I don't get it. We can have another discussion about what Trump is doing.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm thinking of our nation. He's talking about Sizwe, his own American nation. I'm saying we should not be caught up in a situation where, as we want to build up, we are thrown out of gear by all sorts of barbs that will come. There'll be all sorts of Congo is a test, Goma. We pick up bodies of our people, and some more will come. That's what warfare is about, or that's what peacekeeping is about. So I don't want, in this conversation, be thrown off track.
Sure.
Later, we can talk about Trump. Somebody with whom I've worked
Absolutely.
very, very well,
Absolutely.
whom I know. He has signed this order. And it's not a joke to me. So serious-minded leadership will be foolhardy to think that it's a passing phenomenon. This thing started with Bolton. The National Security Advisor has got a mustache.
Yeah.
National Security Advisor of Trump in his first administration. These right-wing people, our fellow South Africans, but that's what they are, that's who they are. They went to the White House. It's not now.
Yeah.
It started at that time when Trump was in the office for the first time. They met with Bolton. He received them in the White House, where they started complaining about the survival of the white people in South Africa. It started there. So there's a file on this thing. They've activated this thing. It's not a joke, and it comes with, fine, we'll do this and this and this and this for them.
Yeah.
Trump is a leader he's a world leader, a leader of note. And America is the most powerful in terms of the economy in the world. Of course, they are losing certain kudos now. But the fact is that it's a very dangerous world in which we are living.
Yeah.
And the geopolitics is part of strategy. You know, how are we handling these things? I don't take that as a joke. And a serious-minded leader occupying any office, from the lowest to the highest, who takes this Trump thing as it's a passing phenomenon, rather on the wrong side. But this has sent shivers in South Africa. Sizwe, you don't know and sit with people where their loyalties lie right now. So some will be angry with, how can you do this? But you have an advantage.
Just on the Trump thing, you've worked with Donald Trump.
Yes.
You actually were the host of The Apprentice in South Africa at a time when the TV show was really big in America as well. I would have thought you do you speak to him? Are you able to contact him? Because you, of any South African that I'm thinking of, has actually worked with Donald Trump.
Let me be careful how I answer that question because there may be developments in a week's time, in a month, one time. So what I can say at this stage, we know one another.
Yeah.
We have been to functions. The first meeting with him and Mandela, I'm there.
Wow.
At what they call in America an A-list luncheon organized by Robert De Niro. And I was second fiddle to Madiba and went there.
Wow.
And that's when we met face to face with Trump. We spoke about all sorts of things. A very interesting person.
Okay. So Trump has met Mandela. And
Yes. When this thing started, you see, you talk with all sorts of leaders in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to get nervous now because people think that leader to leader, there's no such a thing. If somebody comes here in South Africa, state visit, you play pupils and they receive salutes, then he calls to, okay, meet me at the hotel tonight. I'm not even invited to this thing. He says, I didn't see you at the banquet. Can we meet later? Yeah. These are friends, and we talk with one another. So Mkabe, whether it's Dos Santos, whether it's Netanyahu. You meet these people, and I've worked with them. So before anybody gets hot under the collar, Trump, you see, because people that have got small minds. So we know one another before you have a fight with them or before they have a fight with all of us.
Yeah.
So you asked, you talk, and I said, let me answer that in due course, but I did send a message.
Wow.
We have been business partners, and Absolutely. I see he's now in the White House. Congratulations happened, but I did send on this. You see, President Donald Trump, highly elected in America, has got a bet. He's hitting at all his opponents, and there's anger at that bet as well. He was opposed by a lot of leaders, almost all the 27 EU countries against him from coming back. They virtually did all sorts of things against him on the internet, media, statements. He was gone. Almost all Hollywood. He was gone.
Yeah.
All former president of the United States, all of them, including his own deputy in the past. They attended meetings to make sure this thing. So, and there were charges against him. A week before he became president, the charges were still there. They hit him with everything. That's why he says on media, everything. He was even Meta shut him down. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. They cut him out of Twitter. And he says when he speaks, I had 98% of the media against me. Now, this juggernaut came back. And Trump, so we should understand what we're dealing with here.
Absolutely.
Here's his victory. He won the White House.
Yeah.
Hands down. He's the president.
Yeah.
He's got the majority in the House of Representatives.
Absolutely.
He's got the majority now. The numbers don't matter. What matters is the majority.
Yeah.
The Senate.
Yeah.
He won the popular vote. You can win the states, but you find that you have more states, but you're not so popular. He won the popular vote.
Yeah.
And then he won something that is all swing states. That's, you see, we're dealing with this phenomenon. And by the way, this is the will of the American people. I don't like the way he's swinging his bat. He's hitting, when his bat moves, we have to take cover. Then he goes to some people who say it serves them right. But wait until it's coming in your direction. So executive order against South Africa and against other parts of the world, Palestinians and so on. Hey, let's discuss this. I did send a message. It's a very simple one. Me from the military. I think, sir, in you solving your problems, you want to use a sniper rifle, not a machine gun. Too many people are getting hurt, friends and foe. He doesn't see that. So this is my worry, that there is this type of a conduct coming from the White House. We can do better.
Yeah.
As for us South Africans, this is about, state corrupt is something else. I've been in government, maybe not at Mandela's level, but I've met them at their best level. Dialogue, diplomacy, Sizwe, detente. Megaphone against Trump, careful. Megaphone, he owns all the megaphones in the world, so we're picking any against this juggernaut. We've got to navigate ourselves around this. And for us, there's so much to lose. We are not even equal to the budget of the United States, of one of the major cities of the United States. It's how we engage. The objective must be the Republic of South Africa must survive. Not how I feel about Trump, whether I dislike him, I hate him, I don't like what he's doing. The Republic. And that's why I'm very happy the government is doing what it's doing to try and go there to engage. Modi went there because he had also an executive order on India. Okay? And of course, who did he receive first? Netanyahu. And other leaders have been there, who are closer to him. Watch who was at his inauguration, you'll know who is closer to him. And he's found more that he can solve problems with Putin because there it's nuclear and it was this close. Because even the red phone of alert between the two countries was no longer operating because of what's happening in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. He's firing with a machine gun. That's where I send a message. Not this. So do we talk? What have we spoken? And I alerted somebody that there's within government that there are back channels. But we must state it the way it is happening. He's swinging the bat in all directions.
Absolutely.
You're hurting friends as well. And I'm sure he wants to hurt people who were hurting him in the FBI, in Pentagon, in the EU, in all these things that were happening. They turned the machine. The state was turned against him. And he's hitting back, but I don't want to get involved in that. But I don't want the bat coming in the direction of the heads of maturity.
Yeah. It's interesting just on the global stage, as you mentioned, because you're someone who has military background as well as having served in government. When I look at what is happening in Russia and Ukraine right now, which are two nations where you have a history and many ANC, MK cadres have a history. I mean, Trump has completely changed US policy. Started talks with Russia in Saudi Arabia recently. And as you say, Europe is reeling. So we're in a new world where this administration is really prepared to completely change policy and act very quickly. And if we're not careful, we could be caught in the crossfire of those geopolitical shifts.
You know, I listened to during the G20 because it's all about foreign ministers. Our foreign minister, Lamola, is very young. I think there's a long road. He's an aeroplane with a long runway in front of him. And I was impressed to see how he's conducting himself amongst other foreign ministers because this was virtually his meeting and how he's coming across. He's very calm. He's careful about. And at the end of the day, it's not about him, it's about us.
Sure.
We're watching your lips. Don't state things which can. So his interaction with Lavrov and so on. Yes, we've interacted with a number of people across the world. And yes, Sizwe, Trump has introduced something completely different. In some areas, he's fighting his own battles. You see, sometimes people get sending messages stamped with, for me, strategy, your national strategy, where do we stand? So people are fighting their own battles. Don't talk and put your head. Sometimes you get hurt. And then we find that we are lost in battles. That if it's not a war, it's not a war. Other people are ours, and we'll buy them. But in strategy, in national strategy, in conducting yourself in a certain way, you choose your battles. And there are areas where you issue a statement, but there are areas where you can send soldiers. Do you understand? So we must also do something. So I'm also a materialist, but also you've got to be a strategist. Be very, very careful. Now, we lived in Ukraine as members of the ANC. I've been there. We lived in Russia, but at that time there were one people.
Sure.
By the way, they are Slavs. That's their tribe. These are Slavs, but they are at war. You got to understand where this war comes from. Now, I've been to Moscow. That's where I lived for a long time. Sent by Thabo and Zuma.
Yeah.
I've been to Leningrad. It's called St. Petersburg today. And I've been forwards and backwards. But I lived in the Ukraine, in a place called Simferopol, but also in Odessa. Okay, very beautiful areas. And why we're training in the Ukraine? Because there's climate and the terrain closer to our country in certain parts.
Oh, I see.
So we did that. They are at war, we're broken. So this war must stop. Trump, stop. It must stop. So there seems to be now a resistance that from Europe. I think Europe is making a serious mistake. The Mandela thing.
I tend to agree.
You see, the Saudi Arabian discussions were not about Ukraine.
Only, yeah,
no.
Sure.
There is virtually a near nuclear war that can happen between it was there. Have we forgotten? Weeks ago. These countries were throwing everything and threatening that, fine, I'm waiting for you. We're gone. We're testing how many degrees, because some of the weapons are 4,000 degrees. The same temperature you find on the sun.
Sure.
This is what, not nuclear. These were weapons that they've designed. This is a war that must not happen. And we've seen First World War here. We've seen the second one. We have played roles in those wars far away from us. The third one is catastrophe for humankind. These two nations have got to sit down and talk. But not only the relationships amongst them to restore the communication line of their red phones, but other areas where developments can cause them to clash. One of them is Ukraine and other parts of the world. So they are making a mistake as though it was a discussion about Ukraine. They must be on the table. It's wrong. But the next one, once the topic is Ukraine, they'll be there. So they agree that, we have got to talk. But those were talks about talks. So let's not get excited and hot under the collar. That's why nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. It's correct. But at that table in Saudi Arabia is not that. There they were saying, what should we fix your relationship? Because if that one is not fixed, you cannot even talk about Gaza. You can't talk about Ukraine and so on. So we hope this thing goes out well, because I'll tell you why. Europe has cost us 2 wars in the world. And they were both fought on that part of the world. But the theater of war involved us. My father fought in the Second World War, yes.
I didn't know that.
And he became the chairman of the Mendy Association associated with the First World War. So we're the southernmost tip of the African continent, and we're involved in this thing. Soldiers died from here. So don't start the third one. Same continent is now back at it. We have a voice to talk about this. You know, we've got our president, Lamola, foreign minister, because the foreign issues talk about these things. So while we're happy that our government is hands-on with these things, but we must know how deep to go. There are times when you issue a statement, you condemn, but don't put your head where others, you come out without your head. So those things must be encouraged to the extent that both the Ukrainians and the Russians, as Soviets, gave us support. We must hope and pray that that war comes to an end.
While we're on global issues, can I ask you about this tragic news that we got about 14 of our soldiers coming home from, the Eastern DRC conflict?
Yes.
Again, you're someone who's got a military background. I mean, what do you make of this? And I think South Africans are just confused by, firstly, how these soldiers are coming home dead, what exactly it is that we're doing in DRC, and how this fits into the bigger picture of South Africa's national interest.
At your high level of somebody who's in the realm and space of information and news, at your high intellectual level, Sizwe, to ask that question tells a lot about the woman on the farms.
Absolutely.
The worker on the plants, the teacher, the nurse, the computer programmers. If you're asking these questions, what are they asking? We have a role to play, a mission in terms of strategy. The national strategy, I'll keep on going back all the time to strategy of your nation. We're not fighting somewhere in Taiwan. It's in your region. You have a responsibility, and we are big here. Or we say we are. Until you are proved by others that, we can do things at you. So we have to get involved. Diplomatically, first and foremost, push diplomacy and associate with the right countries. Don't go to countries where people are doing wrong things about their people and they expect that we must come in and serve and die there. So analyze properly so that you can carry the nation. Wars, you said, I'm military. Yes, I am. Soldier. I was sent by the ANC, I was trained by the Soviets. Wars are not won in the battlefields. That will happen. The wars are won in the minds and hearts of your own people. They must be properly briefed, I come back to you, about why you are taking certain types of military-related decisions which have got consequences of death. That's where you win the war. Before the first soldier comes, before you issue the order, that's where you win the war. But if people are gone and we're still asking questions, why in the taxis, at schools, at universities, if people don't know, you lose the war. But once you carry, that's where the military science about that. Win your population. You know why? So that when my dead son comes back, I will give you my next one. You, the decision maker, because I believe in what you're doing. But if I don't know, you're going to have grumblings. You'll have grumblings. And there's something, just shake you up. War casualties, when they come back, Chief, are not looking nice.
Sure.
People come back in pieces. Some pieces are left in the fields because we didn't find them. It's not a bullet which hit you there and you died nicely in a coffin. That's why they say when war casualties come back home, don't open those things. Put a picture, we remember you like that, and keep that coffin sealed. Because sometimes half the joy is not there. That's war. It's not a nice death. He died last night sleeping on a bed, or a bullet hit here and he died. It's pieces sometimes. People come back without fingers. The bodies don't have those type of things. Sorry to shock you about this, but that's war.
Sure.
So when you are a leadership, you are confronted with difficulties and you've got to take difficult decisions. Make sure you carry your people. Carry me so that I can give you my next son. Me and his mother will bury your brother. You go. Because we believe in that war. That's really what the bottom lines are. But if people don't know, Soldiers come back from the battlefield, and then it starts back at home. They revolt. They mutiny. Right now, and these soldiers, today with your technologies, they show us real life what CNN will never show you. Before Sophie Mukwena with SABC gets close, we've already seen the visuals, and they don't look good. They don't look good. And people are exposed to that. So we are no longer in control of the communications, consequently the narrative. So anybody with us, they're injured. Women were screaming there.
Sure.
You don't want to see. And some of our people are still there. And it's a long way from Goma and Bukavu, the other places, to Kinshasa. It's a long way, or Lumumbashi.
Yeah.
The nearest country is Rwanda. So we've got to find a way. So I'm saying we support the decision of our leaders. I do. From strategy, I understand the region in which we are. Okay? And understand our responsibilities as the big brother here. You can't sit back. Remember, we died in Lesotho. We died in Mozambique. We died. So be calculative. Be circumspect. And I think where the government fell short is proper information. You can't run a war with a media statement. Press statement, Minister of Defense, President, Minister, or President. It's not a press statement. There's got to be work done in communities. You must have that. And we suggested, at one say, people didn't listen to some of us. Take the people along. You can't take me along with a press statement. You don't know these press statements. They're blah, blah, blah. Soldiers are going. It's not done like that. So I believe in the decisions of the leadership about what's happening in our region. I believe that certain things are existential. I believe that in terms of strategy, you have allies and you've got partners. You've got to protect the borders, national integrity, sovereignty. These are all things that you look at strategy. And then you look at the end of the day, the red line, existential line. You see? So I support that, but I think much better could have been done in carrying the people so that we can give you our sons again.
There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on at home. You spoke about the budget. As we speak, load shedding came back to everyone's shock and disappointment. What keeps you up at night about our country?
I think the question should be, what should keep us South Africans awake at night? There's a few, but there's one. Because at the end of the day, as a leader, you must have a spine and take a decision.
Yeah.
Life is not about options. They are there. It's about decisions. There will always be options, but don't hide behind options. What would keep me, Tokyo Sokwane, and what should keep you, Sizwe, and South Africans awake at night is the danger that the project of 1912 of the ANC to form Sizwe, your name, the nation, which we could only effect in 1994 because there was no nation. There were two. The fact that this can break apart. I don't think we're reading the signs of what's happening. I told you that people have got different loyalties now. Okay? Now, very shortly, Europeans came, occupied country, colonialism, they took everything. Fought, we lost the battles, and then they started fighting among themselves. The Dutch stock versus the English stock. They had a terrible war, 1890-something, the Anglo-Boer War, which was really a South African war, 1899. It ended up in 1902. And they had reached a deal. You know what? Let's verenigd. That's why, verenigd. Let's come together. There's no need to be fighting. We are from Europe, man. We can all eat together here. That's the deal. And they came together. And they started preparing to build a union. Because there were 4 countries called Transvaal, Free State, and Natal in the Cape. That's the history of this country. The young people like you should know where we come from. So a deal was made to say, We can all eat here. Let's not fight. We come from Europe, but, English stock, Dutch stock. And they prepared to build one country. The Union of South Africa was built. But as they were doing that, Africans were saying, you're building a nation, what about us? They started building a white nation. In dark Africa, what about us? So they've taken the land. Now, we are nobodies in our own country. Leadership of the ANC left to London to say, don't give them this liberation, this independence on their own. We want to form a nation with them. We're not listened to. We're kicked in the teeth, man. And they built that nation of theirs in 1910. The Union Buildings represents that. 2 years later, we reacted. We must have our own. You see? So the African National Congress, this Sizwe. Before Mkonto was Sizwe. That Sizwe is the Sizwe the ANC was thinking of building. With a difference, these two, the white group and us. Theirs was exclusive. From 1912, on the 8th of January, we said inclusive, all South Africans. We were beaten up, we were mocked, we were shot at just for having the idea, the vision of an inclusive nation against this exclusive one. The people running this exclusive one, they did things until 1960, they silenced us. But before then, in 1955, we even drew a document called the Freedom Charter, which is a proof of this inclusivity. And they did what they did. We had to go back to the trenches. And we forced them by defeating their will to fight, not them militarily. Because that's what strategy is about. In 1990, they decided after this Mandela thing and all of us, Oliver Tambo, fine, let's hold elections. And we did. After they murdered Chris Hani, some of them. And we, so it's for the first time the vision of 1912 has got, the mission can happen now.
Yeah.
You want to know what keeps me awake? At that time, we agreed that we can't build an exclusive one. 1994, we defeated them in the elections. We defeated their will to fight in the battlefield. We defeated them in the elections. But went on to say, let's build. That's the proof of the...
Yeah.
We had one. We could have said, away. We stayed the course. De Klerk, who had a Peace Prize, walked out of that later. He started this thing off again. Old habits never die. And they broke out. I was a member, the founders of the government of national unity under Mandela.
The original, the real GNU.
Magoy.
Yeah.
This one, they forced us into it. Now, when they say Asifuni, nobody wants the GNU. No one. I never went to vote to say I'm voting for it. There was no. I wanted, and Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, had said at the conference, at the rally of the ANC, we are going to get. I think they mentioned we're going to win. That's why we voted. Everybody voted, even the smallest parties, Solomisas. Everybody wants to win. Lo and behold, the numbers are short of the objective, and that's why now we've got to elastoplast this thing and hope. We don't know what's going to happen now. So this is leadership now finding a way. I would have taken up issues with the GNU had they not invited everybody. So I didn't like the fact that Comrade Zuma and others didn't want to go in, but it's a decision. So we are here where we are. What keeps me awake, therefore, with all these things is that we've reached a point now where others have opened the door and they've gone to the White House. And they said things which they know are not correct about us.
Yeah.
This act, the Bella Act, they are losing their language.
Nonsense, yeah.
And the other acts, the land one, So, and then our friends, our traditional trading partners, as led by President Donald Trump took decisions on misinformation. But the door is open, sir. And people are going to the Western Cape to hibernate there. We know, man. Because the ANC, the blacks are messing it up. We knew these people never come this far. We know what is happening with what. And we've got two oceans, the Atlantic and the Indian. Of course, another one, the Southern Ocean. We've got three. And these two oceans brought us problems in the past. Colonialism came through them. Now there are people who are going to Western Cape for survival, just in case things happen. We know that. Sure. And people are frightened. They opened that door to America to say, be with us, these people are going to be... And then our traditional trading partners bought into this. So what do? The project is cracking. There's a fault line. If you are not awake, this thing will break in your hands.
The nation is breaking.
It's not breaking, there's a fault line. Any people in positions of leadership, as elected and others in various organizations, because sometimes you confuse elected politics to be leadership. Quite a lot. Sometimes there's no leadership in some situations, and you find Tutu, who's not elected, he's a better leader. So let's be careful about this thing. So, Gauteng Premier of Gauteng, if you think I'm a leader because I've got votes, it's a zero-sum game, man. Leadership is about taking responsibility for activities and events and providing answers.
And for this
thought out, and for consulting. Can't be a leader on your consulting and getting all of it. That's why I said strategy.
Sure.
Strategy, I kept on saying, we just outline this thing. You have philosophy, the worldview. Okay, but in that philosophy, you're just opening the worldview. Solar system, planet Earth, we live here. What's your view? So your ideas. Once you have a philosophy, your ideas. What are your ideas about this world? Then once you have ideas, you put them into a system as ideology. Okay, we'll all end up with a system of ideas in an ideology. You are mapping our strategy. You must understand this. The leadership has got to understand all these things. Ideology. But ideology for your nation, okay, in that ideology, where do you stand in politics? But politics is a critical weapon to fight for your ideas. Your business cannot fight. It's politics. It controls all of it. It overacts. So politics is a weapon that we use to fight in an ideological situation for ideas in a first philosophical world, which gives you merely a vision. Because philosophy doesn't give you any answer. You must think things out. We need philosophers. We need all these people. But at the end of the day, politics is so preponderant that it's an instrument that you use for fighting. Now, after politics, you now come with national interest. The interest of the country. Your national interest. It's Sizwe. Everybody pursues their own national interest, Sizwe. So what are the interests of your nation? Who are your allies? Who are your partners? Who are foes? When there's conflict, how do you handle it? Diplomacy? Okay? Dialogue for detente. And if the conflict becomes a hot one, war, when do you go to war? If you go to war, what type of weapons and who you do put in charge of these things? You must understand all these things. Therefore, leadership has got to know this road. Each one of these things I've mentioned, I've not mentioned the economy, artificial intelligence, all those things are found. Because where do you stand? Because artificial intelligence, mere intelligence, is just that we've delegated to these things that now, with a microchip, it's all microelectronics. They now develop their own lives. We've got to, where do we stand? Or are we still going to be sitting in a bus stop or under a tree? When other people, so you'll end up with technological haves and technological have-nots in the world as a continent. So where do we stand? We must be together. We can't say leadership and then people are just going to the AU dressed up in suits and they come back and resolution after resolution is not, and then Sudan, things are breaking apart and you're getting hurt. You must understand why things are happening and explain, carry people with you and so on. Now, leadership that doesn't understand this fault line and its implications and the impact on it by others. The door is open to the White House right now, and we can be harmed very, very badly. How do we handle this thing? So I'm saying we can't take it as something light. Leadership must be able to resolve this thing because the door is open now. Other people have got divided loyalties. Yeah, Cyril is their president, but they can go to another one. That's why I saw members of another party urging that fine, let's go to the White House. Let's all go there to explain. Now you see it, the quotas. Pretoria has got no power. Let's take you there. See now. So the government should not have allowed, let's take you there so that we can explain the Bela Act, which is this other one, the land one, that still has...
Expropriation Act.
Yes. So now, you know what this thing has done, Sizwe? The consequences of this. Now we have to say, no, actually it was only for infrastructure. We take land without, just as it is done by everybody in the world. Now we're busy explaining ourselves. People are saying, and we say we want to go to other parts of the world to explain ourselves, which is correct. Perhaps. Maybe it's Washington where you to go. Because don't go to countries which are not listened to by Washington. Be careful. You can't go to countries that Washington won't listen to. And right now in Europe, number of countries that have been identified for the... They don't listen to China. They don't listen to Germany. Macron, they don't listen. So you must... Egypt. And other countries, I'm just making an example, but I'm not there, people have got to make choices. But at the end of the day, you want to go and explain in the White House. Because we're now having a problem here of people who want to start a white problem. Okay, so this keeps us awake. Me, it's how we handle this thing.
Yeah.
Do I have a country in the next we've got kids, man. In the next 5-10 years, do they have a South Africa? When other people say, now we've got them. Now, we've been put in a very dangerous situation where we now have got to explain, and we're tiptoeing around our own act, which the president has signed. What about Section 25? This argument says, we're putting you won't even touch Section 25 because they've made us to be more terrified now. We have to explain this one. What about the bigger constitutional thing? You see, this whole thing has got those ramifications, the consequences. Because leadership is about understanding the ultimate consequences, not ABC. It's X, Y, Z in the end. You must know the full alphabet, that strategy. And if you're not applying your minds and using people like you from think tanks, from universities, bring them together. Don't be afraid if you're a leader.
Absolutely.
So get all views. Don't choose those you like. Find people who differ with you. You can bring them here. That's the Nelson Mandela way.
Yeah.
He even faced de Klerk. And the Groot Crocodile, forget de Klerk. The Groot Crocodile, PW both himself, the war horse.
Yeah.
We faced that one. We don't make peace amongst friends. It's with enemies. And that's where you'll understand how you approach this thing strategically. We've been put in a very unenviable position of now being made to apologize on land. We must also blame ourselves. This thing should have been done a long time ago. It's splitting us. That's why we're fractured over land and so on. But in any case, at the end of the day, you must also understand all these things and how to hold the nation together without running the risk of this crack. And when that crack happens, Chief, it's another story. So I trust and I hope that the people who are elected, side by side with other people, are handling this thing. It's nice for us to retire like this.
Yeah.
But we sleep with one eye.
Can I ask you a question related to that? Do you feel that we currently have the leadership that we need to negotiate these choppy waters?
We work with what we have. Some of them may not be your choices, but conferences are where decisions are taken in terms of democracy. See, democracy has got an issue itself. So we work with what we have. Make the best with what we have.
Yeah.
So what we have must also consult with other people. Talk with them. Not with me. Find people in the different spaces in science, in mathematics, in biology, pharmaceuticals, and so on. Don't come with your own views. Don't say you've consulted when you've spoken to employees. That's not consultation. I was the premier, in the cabinet. We consulted wide and far. I tell you, you read what I'll be writing. Wide and far. With the cabinet, let's go and see them. People like Thabo Mbeki, Jesse Duarte. These were my advisors, Miki Kaya, and so on. We went out and never thought we were the center. I repeat, we work with what we have. I'm not here to market any leader or to devote any. I'm saying conferences give us what we have. Let's work with that. And comrades and people in South Africa, not just ANC, shine. Now that the people have shine and be able to say to the people, I'm DA, I'm this, I'm ANC, but they must see leadership and people who are determined to build. Because at the end of the day, elections are a zero-sum game, and we should not allow elections to divide the nation. That's why the government of national unity is not what we wanted. Nobody said a long-leave government. No. You wanted to win outright, but it has happened now. But also stop saying the people said. They never held a conference. Just say, we believe that with what we have, we must do something. You can't say, therefore it means the people said. They never said that. There was no referendum. We're divided. An election is not a referendum. It divides us. So now the outcome is that the leadership says, let's see. That's why I say the MK missed the point. They should have been there. They should have been there. Now look, they should have been there. Can't even pass a budget now. They should have been there. Helen is smart. That's all I can say. I think
Why do you say that?
She has seen our weakness. I'll say this up front. I've worked with her. I like her very much. We worked together when she was a premier. She covered our own case. Helen was behind me when the rope was here with 12 other comrades. She was the Helen of Troy. She covered the case working for the Rand Daily Mail under the top journalist, the editor called Benjamin Pogren. She covered the Pretoria 12 case. We're hanging. She was there. She gave us support. And the Helen of today is the one that has seen that this thing is finished. I can finish it off. I think we should talk differently. With my sister, she's and when we're both in government, in the intergovernmental forums, people who used to always Zuma would always say when we were sitting with Helen, this talk is sitting with one of his own, because of my wife and so on. Yes, she's a politician, shrewd one, and I think she realizes we're bleeding. 40% down, we're bleeding.
Absolutely.
Bleeding. So.
And the budget thing showed that they were able to.
I'm sure when they go, but we have them. These are short-lived things. Let me tell you why it's dangerous to defeat the ANC in the end. You can defeat it. It's nothing. The ANC stands for this. They believe in it, right or wrong, man. Sometimes wrong. They believe that this thing will save the economy, will give them jobs, unemployment, poverty. They believe in this thing, not in you. So when you have defeated the ANC, you must make sure you have defeated these things. Otherwise, what happened in this country in July, it was just entry. What happened in the country in July? Trust me, I don't wish that on my country. That's why you must sleep with one eye and listen to the echoes of disenchantment. And leadership must understand that now it's not getting nicer. Of course, in elections, we're beating them. They brought the ANC down, electorally right. But, Helen is also about South Africa. I want you to, and I'm sure she'll say, I'm also South Africa. She's an intelligent person. But they've smelled, not Helen, I don't want to personalize, they've smelled that it's wounded, this thing. And we are wounded. We are very badly wounded. I don't think the ANC... You put it out of power, I don't want to deal with it. Okay, get your act together, ANC. You are going down. Now, I said the president is in the departure lounge. I want to say something here. He'll be gone. His suitcases are being packed every day. Mashatile is going to arrive. Will he be the president? I wish he will be. You know why? Because I saw what we did at Polokwane. It's not nice that each time since Polokwane, every president must leave like a dog. Show him the door.
Wow.
This is the African National Congress of Nelson Mandela, who gave us this organization at Mafikeng, but warned us that be careful. Read his closing remarks when he pointed fingers at leaders.
Do you fear for President Ramaphosa in that regard?
Now, the point is that I wouldn't want Cyril to be driven out of the office. It's not in my interest. Maybe I don't like him. Maybe he must go. Maybe. But no matter who dislikes him, I don't want the repetition, this trend of, in South Africa, a president is kick him out. So if that happens, it just juxtaposes everything. Therefore, we're not learning from history because, as Hegel says, history teaches that we learn nothing from history. This bloodletting in the ANC must come to an end. So we've got to manage these transitions properly. So the question is, now, where are we? Are we going to go with the next president? Because it's not only him, by the way, looking at a president as though he's the president who did miracles, this fixation with an individual. The next individual, whether it's Paul Mashatile, I hope it is. I'm sorry, I'm saying this because, I know him, I've worked with him, we created Gauteng with him. This bullet trains is Paul Mashatile. The Gauteng is him. And many other things that he did under my leadership. In this part of South Africa where there's only 2% of territory. That's Gauteng. We named it together Gauteng. I trust him. So if there's a vote, I'll put my vote. He can be defeated, but one of the defeated votes will be mine.
Wow.
But besides that, it's not a personality issue. If he's wrong, then he doesn't belong.
Sure.
Besides that, I wouldn't want to see this. Because we've been part of this thing and seeing. We're part of it from Limpopo. There were reasons. We had very good reasons from Polokwane. But then this thing started its own thing. It's used by others for other reasons. So that now it will be Cyril must go and then let's manage this transition. Otherwise, is it 40 towards 50 or 40, as they say, towards 20?
Yeah.
And when it's like that, so what do we do with these people who believed in those people who have got numbers? Because the economy is still what it is. What's our debt? The debt to GDP of South Africa, meaning what we owe, is 75%. So we're running the country with 25%. There's no petrol in this thing, in the tank. We've got these faults will happen even more. It's a daily thing that's happening. So investors, financial people, trade, people who want to be part of the growth of our economy. They think very, very carefully, and they're choosy. And they put little money and so on. This is the time when we must think together. So the GNU, when they are there, think creatively, carefully. Don't fail to pass a budget. Don't do that. I had people who are standing for Kodongwa. I like him, I know him. He's a good person. And some of the people were insulting him. This fellow knows, it's not a Gondogwani issue. We've got numbers issue here. It's a very difficult thing. But also, let's not defeat ourselves in front of the world. Because we become look at them, they can't even pass a budget. Look at them. I think we can do better. I mean, we've done things, but I don't work on hope, I work on action. Let's do something. Yeah. Because, hope is to sleep on your bed and hope in the morning that the money for the school fees for the children. We wake up, the letter from the school is still next. So get up and do something. Be a practitioner. Theoretician, yes, but a practitioner. And in terms of strategic approach to things.
What did you think of the Phala Phala situation?
Phala Phala. I don't know what happened there. Money was found in couches and so on. The presidency was not there. Nobody was there except the people working on the farm. I think more explanations should have come. The fact that you're asking me, it means people are not satisfied with the answers that have come. I'm not.
Yeah.
We're thinking. So we're all thinking exactly what happened there. Whose money was it? This guy who comes from there and he buys cattle, he doesn't know anybody there and leaves money. Inganegwane in Zulu. It's a cock and bull story. Okay. Once upon a time there was a cock, its friend was a bull, it's a childish story. Who's this? I'm not worried about the president. He says he was not there. Somebody just came and says, I've come to buy. He finds a deputy manager, doesn't know him. He's never been to that part of the world, and he leaves this money. He leaves this. I'm not even aware what SARS did.
Sure. What
SAB did, South African Reserve Bank, what SARS did, or SAPS, because they're also the police, the Reserve Bank, and so on. I'm not there. I've just this character who's now, if this is true, who put our own president in this Phala Phala thing now, as you say. He says he came and that's why it's a cock and bull story, man. And he says he was passing with his wife or girlfriend. She's South African, he's not. He didn't even know this is Ramaphosa's farm. I'm sure he sees the buffaloes outside. I just want to buy a few. I stop there. It's Christmas time. There's nobody here. You see, there's a song that says, there's nobody here but chickens, you know. There's nobody that these animals, and he knocks. I don't know how you knock because the gate is far from the main house. And then somebody comes, maybe this is the belly comes. What do you want? They say, we want to come to buy buffaloes.
Yeah,
yes.
I just thought I might have a buffalo.
Okay, fine. Well, the manager is here, but they say, leave your money.
Wow.
Hey, $5 million at that time is about 10 million rands with the rand at 18. So and he buys this character. Huh? Leave my president alone.
Yeah.
Because you see, this thing is now staying on him. This character, let's deal. We'll find it. Let's deal with this. Because if you can prove the truth here, it's fine. But this doesn't sound truthful. Not the president, this thing.
Yeah.
And then he left his money. Never collected his money until the fire started in South Africa. Never collected his cattle or whatever he was buying. Everything is still there. It's only, and then the money is stolen. But they say the president said, "Keep it there. It's safer there." Aye, man. You see, can we talk? Can we talk differently? Let's be treated as adults. We've been having an adult discussion here. So this character that the president, our president, say he doesn't know this fellow. She has put us in this situation. I think the Phala Phala thing starts with this fellow.
Yeah.
But if you've got to follow what happened thereafter, you see, and you know, somebody said to me in Tokyo, hey, we knew you people are corrupt in South Africa. It's a leader, very expensive. He's an old leader of the Africa. I won't name him. But I'll tell you hereafter. He's a very colorful character.
Yeah.
And he's Nigerian, by the way. That's all I can say. He says, for 30 years, since 1960 to 1990, you have been in exile. You lived here in Africa. We know you people. We knew you'd be corrupt like us. Because we know you here. We saw what you were doing, even amongst one another. Hey, but you have beaten us with the speed, man. Your speed.
Sure.
As South Africans. He says, maybe it's the bigger economy.
Wow.
Your speed towards corruption. Look, Chief.
Yeah, it's just bad.
The Zondo Commission is ANC. So let's first read it. So the crack, the fault in my own organization, which I love so, I have nothing in me. Maybe your dad, Zuma and others, no, I know they know in their hearts of hearts, they know where I am. They're friends. We've got to rebuild this thing, but I'm not saying leave Helen and her people. It's the nation, our project of 1912. We wanted to achieve it, and we went to 1994, and we defeated people, and we brought them in. Can't fail now. But I'm not a theoretician. Something must be done together.
Yeah.
Together. But if you're going to play games and politics around this thing, that's the sure way of failure. The failed state is in front of you. But I don't want to end up there. I think we can still do it better.
Uncle Toki, I know you have places to be. I wanted to end on a lighter note.
Oh, yeah.
Where did you learn how to do such a brilliant Madiba impression?
Well, having stayed with a person so close, you know.
Yeah.
In prison, you watch all the muscles on his face and his hands, and you love him so. Yeah. You know, I'm still. He left his trusts, 3 of them. I'm still a trustee with Kama Seneke, one. Another one was George Bezos. Another one with Justice Songoli. They're all lawyers. I'm the only one who's not a lawyer. I'm a failed lawyer because I didn't finish my law degree. I ended up being trained as to become a demolition engineer. In the Soviet Union. So, but in all his trusts, he has left me with these people. And I came to know him so, to understand him. I lived with him. We lived next to one another. Came out of jail and we were there when he was buried. Yeah. Therefore, you learned his mannerisms. But Madiba is a master of humor. You will never survive in prison without humor. Times are bad. The days are short. The nights are long. When you meet comrades, there must be a lot of humor. Yeah. So when he wakes up, oh, hello, how are you? Well, it's fine. It's always fine. So if I sometimes will you pay me for this impersonation?
By all means, absolutely.
You better do that, young man.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
No, Uncle Tokyo.
And may his soul rest in peace.
Indeed.
And our soldiers too.
Absolutely. Uncle Tokyo, it's been such a joy to speak to you. You've been so generous with your time and shared your insights with us, broken your silence. And, on this show, we also get an opportunity to thank people for the contributions they've made to our country, both in the struggle and after. So, we elevate you and we say thank you for what you've done for South Africa. And I hope this isn't the last time we get to speak.
Sizwe, you give your life to your nation, but with humor and a smile. But you must decide from time to time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Help us reach 250,000 subscribers. And make sure you comment down below.
No, we can pay money to get more of them.